Welcome back. This is Cambridge Inside Out. I'm Susana Segat.
And I'm Robert Winters.
Hi, Robert.
Hey there.
In our last segment, we had Representative Marjorie Decker. I'm really happy she was here talking about the House budget, the FY2015 budget. And next week, we have Fran Cronin, who is a new school committee member, coming to talk to us about her first term in office and what's happening in the school system. Very exciting show coming up.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to get some updates on that. You know, last time I even visited school committee, there was some thing about the math curriculum, and I haven't paid any attention since, so I need an update.
And we'll bring her here.
That's it. We're
So
good.
we'll all get to hear that next week.
All right. Well, anyway, in this segment, is that the correct term? All right, in this segment,
You can say whatever we want, Robert.
sort of to do a few little city updates and things, maybe some announcements about what's coming up here. Maybe I'll just sort of run through a few little calendar items for people who want to know.
Good.
Actually, I just, at 4 o'clock this afternoon, I was at a meeting of the City Council's Government Operations Rules and Claims Committee.
Fun.
Yeah, it was actually kind of an interesting, telling thing. It's actually 8 years into the 8 years since they introduced these city council aide positions, and now they're sort of trying to turn them into full-time jobs, which is, I actually gave some testimony saying like, well, the charter actually says you get to hire 3 people, a city manager, a city auditor, and a city clerk. There's nothing in the charter that says you get to hire your people from your political campaign to work for you, which is kind of what it is. So now they're going to try and regularize this, turn them into full-time positions. So I also suggested, well, maybe if they want to be full-time positions, they should be regular job postings and a proper process.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Each of the
What?
city, well,
How did this happen? What?
you know, it was 8 years ago. And again, there's a long political history about it, but the city councilors each got to sort of choose a person to sort of as a helper,
Oh, on their staff.
as a staff.
The
But it
city
was-
council staff.
Right,
Okay.
but they were set up as sort of, originally they were called research assistants. They were set up as sort of stipended part-time positions to sort of help out.
Right.
And now, 8 years later, the inevitable happens. You know, political privilege is sort of like entropy. It only increases over time. So now they want to turn them into full-time positions.
Well, see,
with
I assumed that
benefits
they
and
had
all that.
been.
No.
What have they been up to now?
They've basically been 30-hour-a-week positions.
Well, 30-hour
It's-
weeks, you get benefits.
You get some benefits, yeah, not the full benefits. But the thing is now they want to sort of grow it even more. But, you know, I certainly made the point today that I think there's a legal question about whether the councilors have a right to hire, or whether in fact the city can provide through, you know, because these would be then regular city employees, and all
Oh,
such
I see.
employees have to go through a proper vetting process. There are various hiring rules, affirmative action requirements. There's a lot of things that are involved before a city can just sort of hire. You know, and certainly if you were working out of the community development department, says, well, I want to hire this guy just because he's my buddy,
Right.
people would raise objections. So I would certainly argue that if there were city councilors, that they would have to suffer the same criticism, I think, for
Right.
hiring their friends and their political friends. and
Well, I guess
buddies.
the
So-
issue is it's temporary, which means that it lasts for 2 years, and then when the counselor goes, you go, right?
Well, I mean, the thing is,
That's how it is now.
It's essentially an acknowledgement of the fact that they're political appointments. Then, you know, which you know, back in the history, going back to the 1940s of the Planning Charter, was to sort of move away from political patronage. Now, this is sort of small potatoes political patronage.
Yeah.
This is not like you're putting out multi-million-dollar contracts or something like that. But
And it's
still.
not like it's behind the scenes. I mean, it's
Right.
people know about it.
Yeah, but I think it's a legitimate legal issue. So anyway, that was this afternoon.
That's interesting.
So I got to hear some kind of the inside dirt about, there's some councilors they're rather than filing council orders and resolutions, they're like putting them on a hold to kind of reserve a space because they want to be the one that gets their name on the order that, you know, ahead of somebody else. And so some people are kind of objecting to this. There's a lot of funny gamesmanship going on. But anyway, so it's sort of boring procedural stuff, but it's government operations. That's what they got to deal with sometimes. So Anyway, that was earlier today. I think the big item right now, and we certainly mentioned this over the last few weeks, is that since, was it Monday before last, so April 28th, is when the city manager submitted the FY 2015 budget. So since we were just talking about the state budget in the last half hour, so now it's same time as for the city budget process.
It's that time of year.
So Richie Rossi, the city manager, submitted the budget, gave a very nice budget message. It went over very, very well. And it had one intervening city council meeting, but coming this Thursday, 2 days from today, so that would be Thursday, May 8th, if you're unemployed and you've got all day to walk the earth, you can wander to the Sullivan Chamber at 9 a.m. and attend the City Council's Finance Committee meeting. And they do it pretty much the same way every year. There's two sort of general budget meetings of the Finance Committee to sort of vet all the various departments. So they take all of the various city departments, which are many, 40 or something like that, kind of split it down the middle.
And each one submits their own budget, right?
Yeah, well, each has their own budget that's all coupled into the budget book, which I guess.
You've got one?
Yeah, I'm going to say. So there's the budget book. It's kind of thick, right? Pretty weighty reading material.
Can I see it?
Oh, yeah, sure. But it's also available.
Can anyone get these?
You can go down to the City Hall and actually get a paper copy, but it's probably easier. You can get a really nice quality PDF version online.
Because now that phone books aren't being passed out anymore, this is good for people
It's the only way to boost you up.
Yeah.
That's it.
This is great.
All right, I've got a collection of them going back to like 1990. But the thing is that you can also get it as a downloadable PDF off the city website, and that's actually probably the easier way to access it. As I was mentioning, so it's this coming Thursday, May 8th, and then next Thursday, May 15th, which happens to be my birthday. Why do they hold these things on my birthday?
May I just say
Don't they know?
The type is very large. As a person who doesn't see as well as I used to, I really appreciate the bigger numbers. So Thank you, whoever in the city created this mammoth document.
Actually,
the typeface is the right size.
Whoever set the template up for this type of budgeting was done a long, long time ago. Pretty much every year they sort of use the same template and they just sort of change some of the content, to be sure. But somebody who set this up well a long time ago, it has lasted and lasted and lasted as a really good format.
So you were saying it's your birthday, May 15th?
May 15th, that's right. Beware the Ides of May. But as I say, about half the city departments will be this Thursday, May 8th, and then the other half on May 15th. I won't go through all the various
You're going to go on your birthday?
I will. I think I'm going to go to the one this Thursday. They have the mayor's. I'm not going to go to all the mayor's office, city council office, city clerk's office, blah blah blah. They have the elections. I sometimes go there for the elections because they're, though maybe the finance committee, the budget hearings should really be. Marjorie Decker, when she was chair, she was really hard and fast about this. Is that city councilors shouldn't be debating the merits of every single program and trying to direct city staff to do things this way or that way during the budget process.
Which makes sense.
Ultimately, the budget process is about allocation of funds, and they should really be discussing things that are specific to the budget rather than to the operations. But it's one of the rare opportunities that the elected city councilors get to kind of grill the various department heads legally. So they often will take advantage of it to do that. So, and it's also especially for the new councilors, I dare say it will serve as the ultimate sort of education in how the city runs. This is the one time I think. In fact, I'll say that actually not just about the elected officials, but any Cambridge resident who really kind of wants to get a better understanding about the way the city runs would benefit from either watching on television. They're all televised. But even better, actually coming and sitting in for a piece of these budget hearings, you really get a sense of it. Now, they may have something like 25 or more departments per budget hearing, but what typically, years ago, what they used to do is they used to make all the department heads just sort of sit there and suffer all day long. This will go like 9 to 5. Now they've got a much better system. They basically, right at the front, they have everybody sort of introduce themselves, and they say, And the individual counselors will pull a budget if they have something to say about it or they want to really discuss it, and then they'll let everybody go.
Say, go to work, we'll call you if we need you?
Go back to work, you know, the city's paying them, so I'd rather have them go working rather than just sort of sitting there waiting, right? So hopefully they'll let a lot of the
Although you learn
departments-
something at those hearings too.
You do, but the thing is that it can get kind of grueling. So it's kind of nice if you let a fair number of them go. I don't know I couldn't honestly say which of these are going to be either controversial or so substantive. I
And
think
the school department, one of these?
that's
They
a
get their
separate
own.
one. That's a separate one. But one of the big items in the submitted budget that has a lot more money in it and some significant changes is the information technology budget. So that's actually this coming Thursday. I guarantee you that'll be pulled and they'll be discussing that. But there's the election commission, and since there was this proposal to do a modification of the election system, that may get pulled. Who knows? I'm just guessing. But there are a few sort of the big items like police department, fire department, traffic, parking, and transportation. So these are the sort of chunky ones that are almost guaranteed to be pulled on the first round.
So what day is that?
That's Thursday, May 8th, starting at 9 a.m. On May 15th, there are, I mean, I'm just going to sort of make a judgment here and say some of the meatier items that you'll find on that day are Public Works Department.
Well, that's a big one.
You know, it's one of those ones where, because there's a lot of constituent services associated with Public Works, that oftentimes city councilors will sort of want
Right.
to grill them about snow removal or sidewalk repairs or which streets are going to get paved in this year's budget cycle, et cetera. You know, but there's bunches of others.
The sewer separation stuff too. Huh?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Though, and you know, there's also things like debt service. So, you know, if there are those city councilors who are kind of disposed to sort of talk about long-term budgeting and planning and whatever, and the issuance of city bonds, I think you'll probably hear much more about that on May 15th, right? And as we mentioned, the hearing on the school department, really the school committee's submitted budget, that actually comes around on, where is that? Here it is, Wednesday, May 21st. That's because of a lot of parents with school children might come out. That's held in the evening, May 21st at 6 p.m. There are a few other kind of
And
big...
where is that?
I think they're all taking place at
City
Sullivan
Hall?
Chamber at City Hall. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. There are a few other items of some significance. You know, one of the things I actually like to attend when possible, when I don't have a conflict, is this Friday, May 9th at 9:30 a.m. It's an awards presentation.
It's that time of year already?
Well, this is an awards presentation for the 2014 Outstanding City Employee Award winners.
Wow.
Yeah, and
How do you nominate people?
Yeah, they put out a call for nominations. I certainly was posting that for a while, and
So is that done?
That's done. In fact, the winners were.
Oh, we know the winners.
We actually know the winners, right?
We don't want to surprise them though, do we?
No, they know. This has been published for a while now, you know, and there's some really wonderful people in there. The two who sort of jump out at me, one is
You're going to just mention your friends?
I'm just going to mention my friends. That's right, because it's our show. Damn it, we can do what we want. They're all great, really. But in particular, what
I
jumped
think
out-
you just mentioned them all, for God's sake.
All right. Well, Christopher Burke, superintendent from the Cambridge Police Department. David Byrne, building inspector. Lisa Castagna from Human Services. Stuart Dash from Community Development Department. Tanya Ford, the executive director of the Election Commission. John McGrath from Public Works. Susan Richards from Human Services. Julie Roach from the Library. Nathaniel Rookard, Public Works. Maria Tavares, Public Health Department. Juliet Turner from the Finance Department, and Stuart Wan, who works in the City Clerk's office.
Well, congratulations to all of you.
So
Keep
definitely
doing
for
a
all
good
of them.
job. You make us all look good.
Right.
Keep it up.
But I am going to sort of give a special high five to a couple. One being Stuart Dash, who has worked for a good long time in the Community Development Department, is the Director of Community Planning and one of the most agreeable, decent people you'll ever want to work with. Really a good person to have in that position. And the other one is my friend Tanya Ford, who's the Executive Director of the Election Commission, who's just been just a bright, shining light from the Election Commission. And I think everybody who had interactions with her during the recount last year has pretty good things to say. But she's just been wonderful, and I hope she sticks around for a long, long time.
And I will just stay neutral and congratulate all of you.
There we go. There's, for those who are interested in the, there's a city scholarship for high school kids.
We get that with our tax bills, right?
We get an announcement and a, sort of a pitch for people to contribute money, so they're awarding the scholarships. And again, the winners have all been determined and announced.
You're going to announce them
No,
here?
I don't have them. There are quite a few, though. But that's on Monday, May 12th.
That's
Prior,
a happy occasion.
prior to the roundtable city council meeting. So that so the award ceremony is at 4 p.m. So if it's, you know, if it's your kid or if you just want to come out, you know, it's at 4 o'clock on Monday, May 12th at the Sullivan
See how
Chamber
your
at City
donation's
Hall.
being spent.
Yeah, it's a nice, they have these really high quality photos. They put a great display. It's a really nice time to celebrate the high school kids out of the city. One other thing that's really kind of sort of a big deal is actually that the mayor's office is putting together is that, you know, time flies. It's actually the 10th anniversary of the celebration of the first same-sex marriages in the country. And Cambridge was sort of led the way with what they do. They opened, I was there that night, they opened up City Hall at midnight so they could be the first in the nation. And it was, what a riot it was. It was just hysterical with people singing and bands playing. I had a great time.
I can't believe that was 10 years ago.
It was 10 years ago. So David Marr
Time
is,
flies.
you know, they put together a 10th anniversary celebration. So this will be on Friday, May 16th, starting at 5 p.m. So the end of the day on Friday at City Hall. So come on by. It should be a good time for everybody. Let's see, I think that's kind of it as far as, I'll just say one last thing on the budget, which is that if all goes well and there's no horrible controversy, the target date for adoption of the city budget is...
Well, it has to be before July 1st.
Well, no, for the city, yeah, it would, but they will almost certainly
Their
have
vote
a
is
final
June
vote
2nd.
on Monday, June 2nd.
Good.
All right, so that's what's coming up.
It's a very comfortable, comforting book. Having this book is like eating mashed potatoes.
That's right, it's like comfort food.
Homey, it's comfortable.
You know, I thought I was the only one who felt that way about city budgets.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to steal yours.
Well, if you do, I'll just get another one. By the way, a few other items about the budget. The operating budget proposed has actually broken the $500 million mark. This is, I think, the first time when it jumped to $524 million.
What's the percentage increase?
It's an increase of about 14.8 million, but it's about a 2.91% over the adjusted budget from the prior year. There's also a capital budget.
So is that an almost 3% increase?
About 3% increase, yeah. There's also a proposed capital budget of $32 million, which covers a lot of the sewer separation projects and some of the building upgrades. There are projects, roof replacements, and a lot of other things that just have to be done. So that's what's coming around. There are a couple, in the budget message from the city manager, there were a few things perhaps worth highlighting.
I can probably find it in this budget.
You could. There's a new human resources position and professional development and supervising training for personnel. I think actually one of the phrases that I liked from Richie was his goal
It's the city manager.
All right. Well, we're friends. What can I say? But his goal to build bench strength across the organization. I like the baseball analogy, right? And basically made it quite clear. It's really kind of a fundamental change from the days with Bob Healy as city manager. Is Richie and the city manager and the deputy city manager, Lisa Peterson. Rich and Lisa, they've been making the grand tour of all the city departments and kind of making clear what the expectations are. Really emphasizing good customer service. Really trying to, make sure that all their relations with the personnel in each of the departments are all, going along very, very well and respectfully for all people who work for the city. So, they're really going out of their way to sort of make things really, really right.
What I see here,
yes,
that people might be interested in, is that they are proposing a 0% increase in the water rate.
Which actually has happened in quite a few years. But the sewer rate...
Tied to...
Yeah.
A 5.2% increase in the sewer rate.
Because we don't really have a lot of control over that. That's MWRA.
So it's really a 3.7% increase. But
That's right. But we're controlling
That's
our
good news.
costs for what the city can control, which is the delivery of water. We control those costs actually quite
Right.
well.
And a 2% cost of living increase for all non-union employees.
All right?
A 4% increase in health insurance costs. 0% increase in dental costs for employees. And a 5.85% increase related to pensions.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
There's some other initiatives. There's a newly formed early education task force that's now at work.
And what is that?
Actually, I'm not really sure, but I know it was an outgrowth of some of the city council initiatives that have been talked about for the last few years that they're now really sort of putting into place. There's an Office for College Success that's being created. One
Too
thing
late
that-
for me.
It's never too late, Susanna.
And then they're realigning the staff in the IT department, right?
Yeah,
They're
significantly.
shaking things up.
There's additional people, a significant increase in budget, and there's a lot of response to a lot of city council calls for some different ways of doing so-called e-government
To
and various
become
other things. So-
technologically savvy.
yeah, so I think that's one to watch, and I know there was at least 2 city councilors who are absolutely hot to trot about this one, so they will almost certainly pull that budget, and that'll be a hot topic for when that comes up. One thing that was some controversy about, people wanted to have the main library Sunday hours expanded, but there was some union.
Well, in the summer, right?
Yeah,
It's closed in the summer.
Exactly, but there was some negotiations, since it's a collective bargaining. So anyway, they ratified the contract not so long ago. And so now the main library will extend its Sunday hours from September through the end of June.
Oh, but still closed during the summer.
I think they're during the summer, that's right. But the thing is that's the ones that everybody wanted them open.
So when are they open? I thought, they're
I'm not
open
sure.
from 1 to 5 on Sunday.
Yeah,
now.
so it's going to be
So now they're going to open in the
much
morning.
more accessible. So that's been settled.
Good.
Again, one of the
Who doesn't love the library?
everybody loves the library.
Speaking of which,
Yes.
the library has their big annual fundraiser,
The Secret
the
Gardens?
Secret Garden Tour.
Ooh,
So go to
yeah.
the library and find out more about it. It's June 2nd, I think, rain or
It's
shine.
something like that, yeah, absolutely.
My garden is not among them.
No.
Is yours?
No.
No.
Definitely not. So anyway, with the realignment in the IT department, they're moving toward the new IT governance model. It's actually pretty significant, some of these changes here. And I think that when the city manager introduced the budget Monday before last, it was really quite well received. And once again, the city will recommend using $9 million in so-called free cash to lower the property tax levy increase. In other words, there will be a modest increase in the property tax, but a lot less than it would have been otherwise had they not used some of the fund balance to sort of buy it down a bit. So,
I mean, I think the bottom line is that the budget is stating that the city is in sound fiscal condition and that we have the ability to continue growing the programs that we need to keep growing.
I think that's exactly right. And as is often the case, there'll be this sort of a pitch at the end of the budget message, pretty much saying that the city of Cambridge very proactively tries to budget conservatively, so that if anything doesn't quite work out, it ends up kind of leaning toward the better direction rather than the worse. We're never playing at the edge here.
I like that.
Yeah, we always budget conservatively and then typically
Let's see
end
if I
up
can
doing a
show
little
this
bit
part.
better than initially planned.
I want to show this part of the book. You
Alrighty.
should never have brought this book here, Robert.
Okay. Well, if you can figure out how to show that would be wonderful.
Okay, I want to show this if I can. Okay, here it goes. Ready?
There we go.
Okay, I want you to see this. Organizational chart. Oh, that's my finger.
There you go.
Look at this. Who is on the top of the organizational chart?
The citizens.
The voters, the citizens.
Absolutely.
That's really good.
Yeah, it is kind of nice.
It's a
I
nice
like
chart.
that. Yeah. So I'm the boss. You're the boss. We're the boss.
I think
All
that's
right.
the good way to look at it.
All right. Well, here's a sort of, as we wind down in the last few minutes, I'll sort of mention a couple of sort
Love
of
this
big
book.
things.
Whoever made this book, thank you.
So
It's a
here's-
very well done book.
Here's 3 quick things that happened on Monday's city council meeting of some significance. I'll actually say one quicker. We finally got the report back on whether to change from the Cincinnati method to fractional transfer, and basically
In
the
elections.
in the elections. the recommendation basically is, let's hire a consultant, let's really think about all the possible ramifications of this, let's not rush on it. And I actually agree with this recommendation 100%.
Right.
So,
So how much are we spending on this consultant?
that's completely unknown. I think whether, in fact, it hasn't even been decided that they will do that, but certainly before any action takes place, they're going to have to kind of consider the whole picture.
And that's what happens when you have a budget that's doing well, is that you
Absolutely.
can hire out consultants.
That's really true. Now, perhaps the biggest items, and this is things where we didn't even know until, we knew they were coming on Monday, but you didn't get to see them in advance. There was some opinions from the city solicitor having to do with the Edward J. Sullivan Courthouse controversy
Okay.
in East Cambridge. You know, there was one unknown question about whether that building constituted a pre-existing non-conforming structure, and the opinion from the city manager, from the law department, basically says, yep, it's a pre-existing non-conforming structure, which means the property developers do have certain rights that, if that were not the case, might have gone the other way. People may challenge this, but that's where it stands. Another thing that came out, which is of some significance, was sort of a count on exactly how much leverage the city would have in terms of use of the parking garage to kind of either help or hinder what the developers are proposing for that structure. And in fact, it turns out there's actually plenty of available parking spaces in the First Street garage that could actually be used to leverage an outcome. But meanwhile, Leggett McCall, who's the developers, have actually tried to negotiate with the Galleria to actually use spaces in yet another location, which thoroughly complicates things.
Excellent.
But with that,
Excellent
so we'll have
piece
to
of
leave you
news.
hanging with that as a.
And I had some interesting statewide gossip, but we ran out of time.
I'm afraid it's going to have to wait till next week.
By
so-
then, everyone will know.
So see you then.
Cambridge Inside.